Hi, this is Stacy Bauman, and this is my critical and creative reflection. The first piece I'm going to talk about is despite the rhetoric, teachers and students are succeeding. It talks about dog whistle politics, more like dog whistle education. In other words, using a code so that we don't outwardly say what we really mean, but that word is substituting, or those words are substituting for something that certain people hear. For instance, private school vouchers, charter school funding. I just read an article online that the Iowa governor, this was written in January of this year, so the Iowa governor, they were accusing the governor of saying that school choice was a dog whistle for resegregation. I mean, that's a pretty harsh accusation. One article isn't going to give me enough information to know if that's true or if that's a very biased written article. However, this is what they're talking about. This essay was talking about dog whistle words in education, and one of the ones that was used a lot was failure. Urban schools are failing. Urban children are failing. Urban parents are failing. Trying to say, that they don't want education. Teachers have been called failures for not being able to educate these children in these schools. But really, according to this essay, they are collaborating to improve student performance by seeking instructional methods and strategies through professional development and collaborative learning. There was in this essay the story of a child in middle school. His name was Amos. He went from a problem student to the runner-up in the state finals in Princeton, New Jersey for a poetry competition. He became a gifted leader and speaker when before he had been in the back of the class and uninvolved. What changed Amos? Well, a teacher was committed enough to her students' success to ask for help, and luckily the resources were available, and collaborated with this other educator to form a student mentor program. This student as teacher program blossomed into part of the NUA's Student Voice Initiative and benefited many students and teachers who wanted the help. I mean, it'd be great if all of them wanted the help, but a lot of them wanted the help. And in fact, interesting, when Amos didn't think enough of the teachers had signed up, he went classroom to classroom asking them to sign up. Let's hear these stories of teachers collaborating with each other and with students due to their commitment to success, due to their never giving up on their students, themselves, or each other. Schools are being transformed. Achievement is being improved, but we don't hear about it very often. Stop talking about minority schools failing. Let's hear some of the success that they are having. This would go a long way, in my opinion, to change perspective about minorities, urban schools, and teachers at these schools. It would go a long way to change perspective about these students' parents, the students themselves, the neighborhoods they live in, and it would go a long way toward just painting a different picture and get rid of the negativity that's been associated for so long. My second essay that I'm going to speak about was Creating Paradise by Martha Barantovich. This was my jam. I loved everything about this essay. I loved how she talks about the moment that changed her education philosophy and practice. She was teaching in an academy, a school within a school, the bottom 25% of ninth graders. She and her colleagues thought they were the white knights of the school, saving these students, thought that the kids were the problem. And actually very excited to do it. They had bought in to, the inequity of the school system. They had bought in or drank the Kool-Aid, as she says, that this is the way it had to be done. And she and probably her colleagues as well thought they were doing the right thing. In fact, so on fire, went to a conference, and they were so enthusiastic to keep things status quo. She says, and I quote, "We had taken the cups of Kool-Aid being offered and demanded that they bring us gallons." Then, taking classes for her PhD, she was forced to grow as a thinker. Beyond her wildest thought ever, she grew as a thinker. It became difficult for her as a teacher to teach how she had always firmly believed and championed. And now, due to these classes, what she was reading and discussing in these her social foundations and her curriculum theory classes, she was uncomfortable with what and how she was teaching and perpetuating a cycle that's been built into our public school system. This is me right now. I have been a thinker all of my adult life, never a big advocate of only status quo. But this last year, back in school, finishing my BS at 47 years old, has definitely kicked my thinker status into high gear. I want to do so much in my upcoming teacher year that I'm a little overwhelmed, quite frankly. I'm shocked and embarrassed by how much I'm learning and how much I didn't know and how much more I have yet to learn. I now have the passion or the spirit of agency to have my students be active participants, not passive consumers. I have so much more to learn before I know how to do this, but at least now I know what I'm looking for. Now, as she said, I am awake. Once you know better, you do better. My non-rhetorical question is, are pre-service teachers receiving training or taking required classes that are forcing them to think? To question student tracking and status quo and the curriculum or the behavior or the pedagogy or anything? How wide is the gap or difference from College of Education to College of Education, or state to state even, or professor to professor, or even decade to decade? My final piece that I'm going to talk about is grassroots leadership for the 21st century, leading by not leading. This was mostly featured on Bob Moses, who was the founder and president of the Algebra Project. And he believes the philosophy of empowering grassroots bottom-up brilliance to find an equal voice alongside those in the power structure. He realized, as many educators do, that top-down hierarchical thinking and behaving, or trickle-down education, as I think of it, is not working. Trickle-down economics isn't working, and trickle-down education is not working. He believes that bringing together small groups of disenfranchised students and parents to talk about and come up with the solutions for and the steps necessary to get there. In fact, he asks the question and then remains silent, forcing the people gathered to speak to raise their own voices and invest their own thoughts, desires, and visions and ideas in order to collaborate to achieve the end goal of success for their children. Bob Moses believes that in order for Black, Latino, poor whites, and their parents to receive a quality education, they have to first realize what they want and that it's possible to achieve, and then demand it. Stop being silent and ask for what so many in this country say you don't want: a quality education. That was a direct quote. Again, going back to the dog whistle, always saying about the failures that they don't respect or desire or value in education. Well, ask for what so many in this country say you don't want: a quality education. The Algebra Project is building a base of both parent and student demand for excellent education. This is a type of grassroots movement, leading by not leading, and letting the people demand for themselves. When people are encouraged to think for themselves, it creates the confidence to continue thinking and demanding more of themselves and of themselves. Then, like peer mentors, A grassroots movement is ignited, moving from small circle to neighbors, to larger circles, to new communities, to school board meetings, to state board of education hearings, etc. As Mr. Moses said, people have to be made to understand that they can't look for salvation anywhere but to themselves. My takeaway, or one of my takeaways from this essay, was to use this in class. I am a talker. It's a departmental joke, kind of, that if you need someone to fill time, I'm your girl. This isn't always a great attribute, as I need to be a better listener in life in general and as a teacher, and also ask for and be ready for honest feedback in order to make me a more effective teacher. Thank you.